How I'm automating my YouTube channel. I'm building a system where I can explain an idea in plain English, hand it off, and come back later to a finished YouTube video. Not a random AI-generated slideshow, not a generic script with stock footage pasted over it. A video that actually sounds like me, follows the style of my channel, explains the idea properly, and gives me something useful to review. That sounds simple when you say it quickly. Talk about an idea, walk away, come back to a video. But getting there required a lot more than connecting a language model to a video editor. The real work was teaching the system how I think, how I explain things, what makes a video worth watching, and how all the different pieces have to work together. There were 6 major lines of effort. The first was developing the rules. The second was teaching the AI how to understand all the material available to it. The third was organizing the files and assets. The fourth was building the applications and tools the system needed to operate. The fifth was developing a team of specialized AI agents. And the sixth was connecting everything into one production workflow. That is what this video is about. Not one magic prompt, not one AI model, a complete system. The first thing I learned was that AI judgment alone is not enough. You can tell an AI to make a good video, but good is vague. It might technically follow the instruction and still produce something you would never publish. A screen recording might be cropped. A visual might stay on screen too long. A random clip might be placed over an important part of the interface. A concept diagram might look impressive while explaining absolutely nothing. So we started converting preferences into rules. For example, screen recordings should remain readable and unobstructed. Concept art should explain an idea, not just fill empty space. B-roll should match the meaning of what is being said at that exact moment. Previously used footage should be tracked so the same clips do not appear in every video. Backgrounds behind vertical recordings should move subtly instead of looking like frozen wallpaper. And the story should not stop every few minutes for some awkward reconstructed conversation between me and ChatGPT. Those decisions became standard operating procedures, skills, checklists, and deterministic rules. That word deterministic is important. It means some decisions are no longer left to interpretation. The system does not have to wonder whether it should block the screen recording with another video. The rule says not to do it. It does not have to decide whether a transcript made of gibberish should move into production. The quality gate stops it. The more we build, the more we try to convert repeated corrections into permanent system behavior. Because if I have to fix the same mistake every time, I have not automated anything. I have just created a faster way to annoy myself. The second problem was giving the system enough information to understand what it was working with. AI can analyze an image or read a transcript, but a production system might have hundreds of files. Screen recordings, audio, scripts, B-roll, concept art, previous edits, voiceovers, project notes. The challenge is not whether the AI can understand one file. The challenge is whether it can understand the entire collection well enough to find the right thing at the right time. That meant adding transcripts, timestamps, file names, labels, metadata, and descriptions. A recording should not just be called something like screen recording, 12/26 07/20 111903. That name tells the system almost nothing. It should also know what the recording is about, why it was captured, whether it contains a useful failure, what section of a video it might support, and whether it has already been used. The same applies to B-roll. A clip should not only be tagged as person using computer. It might represent frustration, complexity, automation, waiting, success, repetition, or confusion. That extra context helps the system make more intelligent choices. Transcription was another major part of this. If the transcript is wrong, everything built on top of it can also be wrong. We learned that the hard way. The system once produced a polished video based on a bad transcript. The narration sounded confident and professional, but the content was nonsense. every stage had faithfully processed the input. The problem was that the input itself was garbage. So we added an early transcript quality gate. If the transcript is too inaccurate, the workflow stops. It does not create the script. It does not generate the voice. It does not assemble the video. That one rule prevents a bad input from contaminating the entire production line. The third line of effort was file organization. This sounds boring, but it is one of the most important parts. Automation falls apart quickly when files cannot be found, identified, or connected to the right project. We had recordings moving from a phone to a computer. Some files were renamed during transfer. That created a simple but serious question. How does the system know that the file on the phone and the file on the computer are the same recording? We solved that by using stable identity and file fingerprints rather than trusting the file name alone. The original file name could change, but the system could still verify the actual file. We also started carrying more information with each recording: a title, a purpose, a category, a target runtime, a durable ID, whether it had already been sent, whether it had already been used. All of that helps downstream agents understand what the file is and how it might fit into a project. The same principle applies to the full media library. If you want AI to build videos reliably, you cannot treat your media folder like a junk drawer. The assets need to be searchable. Their history needs to be tracked. The system should know what was used in previous videos so it can push those clips lower in priority. Reuse is not forbidden. Sometimes the same clip really is the best visual, but it should be a conscious choice, not something that happens because it was the first result in a folder. The fourth effort was building the applications the system needed to do real work. A language model can generate ideas, but it still needs ways to interact with files, recordings, approvals, and outputs. So we built supporting tools. There is a screen recording application that captures footage on the phone and sends it to the computer. There is a transfer workflow that confirms the file arrived successfully. There is a transcoder that turns speech into text with timing information. There is a script review feature that helps inspect scripts before production. There is a media review panel where completed videos can be sent back to my phone so I can watch them quickly. There are tools for handling concept art, voice generation, diagrams, and production assets. And all of this was being built while the AppHarness itself was still under active development. That is one of the stranger parts of this project. We were building the workflow while also building the environment that the workflow runs inside. The chat system was evolving. The agent routing was evolving. The recorder was evolving. The media pipeline was evolving. Everything was moving at the same time. That created mistakes, but it also meant every real failure gave us information about what the system needed next. The fifth line of effort was developing the AI team. At first, it is tempting to give one powerful model the entire job. Research the topic. Write the script. Choose the visuals. Generate the voice. Edit the video. Check the result. That can work for a small test, but it becomes difficult to manage and expensive to repeat. So we started breaking the work into specialized roles. One agent focuses on the story and the structure. Another handles transcript analysis. Another plans the edit. Another assembles the video. Another checks whether the finished cut is truthful and watchable. Another manages the overall architecture and steps in when the routine team needs help. Specialization matters because each agent can concentrate on a narrower responsibility. But specialization alone is not enough. The agents also need clear handoffs. They need to know what evidence they are allowed to use. They need to know where their authority ends. And they need independent checks so one agent is not approving its own work. That is how the system begins to operate like a production team instead of a single chatbot trying to do everything at once. The long-term goal is also to make the routine work cheaper. Use a powerful model to design the process, develop the rules, and solve difficult problems. Then allow lighter, less expensive models to perform the repeatable work inside those boundaries. The expensive intelligence builds the road. The cheaper models drive on it. The final line of effort was connecting everything. The intended workflow is straightforward from my point of view. I have an idea. I explain it naturally. The system gathers the relevant recordings, chats, notes, and assets. It investigates the topic. It writes a coherent script. The script becomes the canonical source. Then the video is built around that script. Concept art explains complicated ideas. B-roll supports the emotion or meaning. Screen recordings provide proof when the actual interface matters. Voice generation creates the narration. The edit is assembled. Quality control checks the truth, pacing, privacy, visuals, and audio. Then the result appears in media review on my phone. That is the direction. The script leads. The visuals enhance it. The footage does not control the story simply because it exists. That distinction has become one of the most important lessons in this entire project. A screen recording is not automatically interesting. A conversation with ChatGPT is not automatically a story. A complicated workflow is not automatically educational. The system has to understand the audience. It has to know why a moment matters. It has to organize the information in a way that is easy to follow, and it has to keep the video moving. The purpose of all this is not to remove creativity from making videos. It is to remove the repetitive friction around creativity. The goal is for me to focus on the idea: what am I trying to teach? What did I learn? What failed? What principle is worth sharing? Then, the system handles the heavy production work around that idea. Organizing the files, finding the evidence, building the first script, generating the visuals, creating the voiceover, assembling the edit, running the checks, delivering the result for review. That does not mean the human disappears. It means the human moves to the part of the workflow where judgment matters most. The system can do the repetition. I decide what is worth saying. And because this system is being built around my own channel, it can learn the style, pacing, structure, visuals, and principles that make sense for these videos. That is the real advantage. You know your channel better than anyone else. You know what your audience cares about. You know what kind of explanations feel natural. You know what you are willing to publish. So instead of asking AI to invent a channel for you, you can teach it how your channel already works. Then you can turn that knowledge into rules, tools, skills, agents, and workflows. And eventually, you can sit down, talk through an idea, and let the system turn that conversation into a real story. That is what we are building, and it is absolutely possible. This video is still rough. It isn't fully polished, but it was built in one shot. And after about 2 days of vibe coding the system, that's not bad. The system is going to keep improving, and you'll see that happen live on this channel. The goal is simple. I want to have a conversation with ChatGPT on my phone, send it through my AppHarness, and have a workable video come out the other side. So stay tuned, subscribe, and follow along as I build it.